Hi Scorpio, welcome to your reading for the month of January. This message is for Scorpio's sun, moon, or rising. If you like the content that I share, please click the like and subscribe button down below. All right, Scorpio, I have pulled for you your energy, I've pulled your environment's energy, and an oracle card for you. I'm going to pull your 9-card spread while I talk to you about your astrology for the month of January. And some of this astrology goes a little bit further than January actually. So let's get into it. You've got Mars in your second house at the time when I'm doing this reading. And so I wouldn't be at all surprised if your focus right now is on finances. If you've been thinking about doing like some sort of like new budget for yourself, you've been thinking about adjusting your spending just in general, now is a fantastic time to do that. There's very supportive energy for that at this time with Mars there. You might even feel like you want to go in overdrive, whatever that means for you. Like if you work out like different budgets, trying to like compare and contrast different things. I don't know, but there's a lot of like heightened drive in your second house at this time. And not only is that the house of your finances, but that is also your house of your self-worth. So you might be taking some lessons from this previous year and looking at them and assessing like, okay, what worked for me? What didn't work for me? What new boundaries do I need to set? Where do I maybe need to be more assertive? And maybe where do I need to communicate my needs more? Because we all know that Scorpio is really good at seeing what's happening beneath the surface and able to do that like psychological probing of yourself and sometimes even others. And maybe the newness to step into in 2022 could be surrounding the communication of those needs and those feelings and what you've been picking up in your close, immediate relationships. Now, Saturn, I have some notes over here. So if I look off to the side, that's where I'm looking, around your astrology. So Saturn is in your 4th house, your house of home and your house of family, and it'll be there this entire next year of 2022. So you could definitely feel as though there's some kind of like restrictive energy around your home life. It could be like your physical home, your house or apartment. You also might feel like there's some sort of new parameters or something that feels restrictive in regards to your family, like your close immediate family. Either way, Saturn has this way of just showing us what needs to come to light and what lessons need to be learned. So that will be there throughout this entire next year for you. And then let's talk about Jupiter, because you have Jupiter. Did I just see? No, okay. You have Jupiter in your 5th house. This is your house of creativity. This is a house associated with tons of fun and play and words that we associate with Leo. This also is around children. So if you have children, you might notice that things in their lives are expanding at this time. If you don't have children, and maybe just as an example, you and your partner are thinking about having children, something like this, the energy with Jupiter there is super expansive and abundant for you right now in the areas of having children, supporting your children's endeavors, whatever that looks like. Maybe there's like a new hobby or project that they're looking to get into and you're finding that they're being really supported in that new area. Or like let's say this was like a sports team and all of a sudden they start just like flourishing in this like new activity or sport. They start building new, exciting, like awesome relationships and friendships, and they also start gaining like more recognition. That would be one example of how this Jupiterian expansive energy could show up for you. It's a very lucky transit in your 5th house. If you identify as a creative, if your work is writing, singing, drawing, painting, filmmaking, whatever creative endeavor, this is a very expansive energy around your creations, right? So in terms of gaining recognition for them, you might see that later down the road. But yeah, this could be a time of putting pen to paper getting the thoughts and what you've been culminating, what's been culminating inside of you, like actually out, it could be a really awesome time for that. Like you might think, you know, over the course of this next year, you just are going to write and you wind up like writing a manuscript, you know, like this could be a really big creative time for you. You might, maybe this last year, another example, you like painted like a couple of paintings and like next year you paint like something that could actually fill a small gallery. Something like that could be there. Now, let's get into your cards and your energy that came out, because you got the Six of Swords here, and it does feel like you're moving away from something. For everyone, that's going to be different, but yeah. In your environment, you got the Three of Swords and the Moon. So something that's possibly been suppressed that you haven't wanted to look at around a heartbreak, either in the present or in the past, is coming up really strongly in your environment for you to take a look at. This can involve a Pisces or a Cancer, and on the bottom of this deck, you also got the Chariot card associated with Cancer. And underneath that, the Five of Cups. Yeah, so there could still, Scorpio, be some like rumination around something for you. And even if it's painful, because the Six of Swords is about movement, right? Getting ourselves out of certain situations. But the Six of Swords is one that's pretty hard. And in the traditional deck, the Six of Swords has a companion that is actually bringing her across these waters from these like super stormy seas into the calm waters. So you might be feeling like you need a guide at this time. You might seek out some sort of like help from someone you look at as like a mentor or a spiritual teacher to help you move into the next phase of whatever you're going through in an emotional standpoint. It's also suggested here with all of these swords here that this is something you might have been holding on to in your mental space, maybe devoting a lot of time to, with all that Jupiter energy going into your house of creativity and fun and play. And there's also friendships associated with that house. There is a strong urging going into this whole next year to focus on the relationships that bring you joy, that make you feel supported, and ones that actually nurture what you're trying to grow in your life, what you want the next chapter to look like. Because maybe at the crux of all of this, and maybe somewhere more in your subconscious than you're letting on to those around you, there's something around being victorious here. I like the Six of Wands coming out in the center of your reading, because it does feel like there's some more like, there's energy of movement out of things that haven't been serving you, out of past heartbreaks or present heartbreaks. And with this feels like keeping your eye on the prize, what you want your actual situation to look like, what you want your foundation to look like, what you want your partnerships to look like. And with the Six of Wands, there is something here around like how you're seen in the public eye, but I don't sense like that's actually what you're after so much as the feeling that's accompanied by feeling victorious inside of yourself and feeling like it's all validated inside of you, that the need for the outside recognition might be a byproduct of feeling super stable and solid, but that it's not necessary for you to feel good, right? So at the start of your reading, let's see, top three cards, you got the Six of Cups, the Two of Swords, and the Eight of Wands. Something you haven't been wanting to look at from your past is likely to come to the surface at this time. I felt that way with the Moon card as well in your environment. You might just be like minding your business and receive some type of information that almost forces you to take like a blindfold off about a certain individual or a certain situation. This person could have been somebody you've known for decades of your life. And it could also be someone that you felt a really strong pull towards, like on a spiritual level, on a much deeper level. And something here might just have you feeling a little bit in your, underneath the Eight of Wands with the communication, you do have the Eight of Swords here. The good news about the Eight of Swords is that this is a mental prison that we put ourselves into. Whatever this situation isn't a reflection of your actual worth and self-value. It doesn't at all have to be a reflection of where you're headed either over the course of this next year. Scorpio, I feel like your reading is a little bit less, this situation I'm talking about, however it applies, feels like it is in the month of January or when you're watching this reading. But when we talk about these like long-term goals of yours, and especially when I was reading about your astrology, it feels more big picture. It feels more like a 2022 at a glance kind of a thing. And the advice right away is to do what you can to not be stuck in your head, to do what you can to remove these swords from this heartbreak in your past. And maybe most importantly, to try at least to define what victory and success looks like for you. Because I don't sense it had this past situation, whatever this was, brought you a feeling of success or stability. I think, in fact, it brought you like a ton of heartache. And I think it might have been affiliated with a lot of secrets and things that were kept from you. And maybe that's where all that heartache comes from. Something around like distrust is coming up there. And for the Scorpios watching this, you want to feel victorious and not stuck in this sad headspace, Eight of Swords, of whatever this past situation was. Three of Wands here suggests that there's something you're creating, or that this is tied into your advice with the Six of Wands to create this victorious outcome. Creating a victorious outcome here is really getting a clear picture of what this victory looks like for you and putting the wheels in motion, which I feel like is a two-step process. It's being highlighted here, something around the envisionment or the clarity that might need to come into focus, especially if you're leaving an old situation coming into something new. And that newness is suggested here underneath the Six of Wands with the Ace of Pentacles here. The Three of Swords came out again on this row. So it's further reiterating that there's some healing that needs to take place. The most positive representation of the Three of Swords is a card of healing. Oftentimes, it's, as the card looks, a situation that caused a lot of heartbreak. So this is around, this is almost like a promise, a guarantee that from healing these old wounds, a new situation gets presented. With it being an Ace of Pentacles, this is something that's actually tangible in the world. Your last card is the Hierophant. And these all go together, so I'm going to show them together, but it's almost like, you know how they say things like, it sounds kind of trite, but the route of healing is not linear? Like, this is reiterating that message. Like, from healing this heartbreak, a new opportunity presents itself, something that you probably either don't see coming or couldn't have seen coming from all of this situation, whatever this old thing was. And with the Hierophant here, there's a few things that can be suggested. For starters, this card holds with it a lot of stableness and solidness. Major Arcana for Taurus, so fixed earth. That's like concrete, that's super duper stable. Fixed earth is not easily emotionally manipulated or moved around by other people or by our past. So that's one message, that there's a suggestion here of moving into greater stability and having a firmer foundation. Another here, take whatever resonates, the Hierophant is also a spiritual leader. So maybe this is moving you more into some position to have people look to you for answers. I feel like I need to say, like, with spiritual healers and teachers, it's not so much like the guru theory, because I don't love like the idea of people looking at people as not people, right? But you could be somebody who's capable now of mentoring other people who have been through similar situations that you've been through, offering pieces of truth and wisdom from your experience. And it's from that wisdom that you're able to give them things that now they can help heal themselves. So maybe going back to the Six of Swords, that's really fascinating. Maybe at this time you're actually like seeking out a guide and a healer or a spiritual teacher. And this is moving into a place that maybe even by the end of this year or like in the fall, you're finding this awareness that there is a new calling or a new path for you to go on, that your stories can actually help people heal because of the things that you've been through, the mental prison that other people and their like betrayal maybe wound up putting you in, that mental prison. I hope that made sense. Yeah, but this is really about finding your own stability and solidarity. Sorry about that, Scorpio. Your video literally just cut out, so I'm back. As I was saying though, this winding road of healing starts at a place from heartbreak. It moves into a tangible opportunity, something that likely you don't see coming. This part of the journey might be like around Taurus season, something in the springtime, but all potentially leading towards a place of greater stability and forming a foundation that can actually last. Like maybe this situation, especially signified by the Swords cards, was too flighty, and by all these Wands cards, like, yeah, something that might have just been like really wrapped up in thought, wrapped up in passion, an idea, and now it's suggested here that maybe closer to the end of this year, there's a greater feeling of stableness and actually building a foundation here. But also, like I said before, this does also suggest for some the movement into a position of leadership, specifically around healing of heartache and healing in general. Could be something like a spiritual leadership type position, which is very Scorpionic right there. For your Oracle card, you got Beyond the Ordinary. I love this. This is the first card actually that I pulled for you. And in itself, it looks like the Phoenix rising, like if you can see all of that. It's also really, really vibrant, which suggests that there's all kinds of like multifacetedness going on inside of you at this time, both as a person, like in who you are, but also in your situation and experience with all of this transformation that's taking place right now. I really like it. All right, Scorpio, that's been your reading for the month of January. I will see you in February. And if you like the content that I share, please click the like and subscribe down below. I hope this helps.